Behold, because in front of you is what we would consider to be an affordable OLED monitor. Now, what we're talking about today is the KTC G27P6S, a 27-inch 1440p 240Hz MLA WOLED monitor with, of course, G-Sync and FreeSync support, as well as a stand that does just about everything you'd want it to, and 100 by 100 standard VESA mount compatibility. And take a look at all these ports. Can you believe it? It's got everything you need except for HDMI 2.1. But coming in at a price of $569.99, this is going to be one of the more affordable 240Hz OLEDs on the market today. So if you're looking to get into competitive gaming at a lower price point, this might be one you want to consider if it's actually good. And is it? Well, during my hands-on time with this monitor, there's a few things I took away. One, 240Hz OLED is incredible. It's super fast, and for gaming, you're going to love the speed that it has. And two, this monitor is actually, at least in one of the modes, significantly brighter than a lot of the ones out there. Those are the selling features, I'd say, aside from the price. But what about the actual color? And well, if you want the short of it, skip ahead. But for those of you who are interested, in terms of the calibration out of the box, the sRGB was a little bit off. It was actually stretching colors a bit, but thankfully that can be fixed. And I will have the best settings linked in my Patreon in the description below, which is also the best way to support this channel. And even after adjusting it, well, it doesn't have what I would consider to be the best color overall. Now, it's not terrible, but with an average delta E of 2.2, it's a little bit higher than I'd like. So if you want something specifically for editing color, I'd probably look at another option. However, that being said, it does actually do fairly well in HDR. It doesn't track perfectly in the standard mode or the cinema mode. However, the cinema mode does allow for much higher brightness than what I've seen out of many other OLEDs. And we'll get to that in just a second, but taking a look at the HDR accuracy, it does also have some significant inaccuracies. So once again, probably not the best for HDR editing. And also in terms of the BT 2020 or HDR color gamut coverage, well, it is going to be significantly behind QD-OLED, as this is using an LG WOLED MLA panel, which means that white subpixel can lead to lower color gamut and volume at higher brightness levels. So the long and short of it is the color is pretty good, especially in SDR. However, in HDR, it is going to fall a little bit behind mini LED or QD-OLED alternatives. And in terms of the accuracy, it's not bad, but it does fall behind some of the best options on the market. But now we can get to the exciting part, and that's the brightness and HDR experience. This has got to be the most important part of any OLED, as this is where they struggle the most. And thankfully, this is one area where this particular monitor does a bit better than you'd expect. Now, taking a look here at the older G27P6, that was kind of in the middle of the pack, whereas the new G27P6S is actually using a newer MLA, I guess you could say, version 2 panel that does crank up the maximum brightness in small window sizes, as well as the full screen brightness, jumping all the way from 222 nits to now 291 nits, making it actually a far better option for desktop use, especially if you're in a brighter room. And this does actually put it right behind some of the brightest OLEDs on the market today. But that's just a window brightness test. Let's take a look at an actual game in here. Once again, the G27P6S does step it up quite a bit and is not quite the brightest on the charts here, but it does do pretty good overall in Baldur's Gate 3 at the D65 white point. But now we gotta talk about the gaming, because aside from HDR, which overall I would say is certainly nowhere near as good as a TV or mini LED monitor, the biggest reason you'd probably want to be picking this up is it's an affordable 240Hz OLED, which means yes, it's going to be incredibly clear in motion. I mean, take a look at this UFO test chart. Here you can see in motion, the text is actually legible, and it is going to be an excellent option for those of you out there who do need to track moving targets in an online game. It's just gonna absolutely crush LCD thanks to its near instantaneous response times, as well as really low latency. In the total system latency test, it comes in at just 25 milliseconds, making it a lightning fast monitor. It's not the absolute fastest I've ever tested, but it is within margin of error of the best you can buy today. And when you combine that with the per pixel local dimming offered by OLED, allowing for infinite contrast, especially in a dark room, well, you're looking at a display technology that's just gonna look absolutely incredible for gaming or really anything that you're gonna be doing on this monitor. But not everything about the monitor is as great as its gaming performance and contrast. Specifically, let's talk about the clarity, because not only is the text clarity going to be worse since it is using a WOLED panel, which can lead to, unfortunately, some fringing on the edge of text, but they also chose to go with a matte coating. Now, to be clear, this isn't KTC's choice. This is the choice of LG, who's supplying the panel, and it's very disappointing to see that, because while it can reduce the intensity of direct reflections, it's going to diffuse it across the entire screen, which means in a bright room it can lower the contrast, as well as is going to lead to a somewhat grainy looking image when you're up close, and even worse, it is going to make the image overall just less sharp than it would be if they used a glossy coating. So if anyone from LG sees this, please, for the love of God, change to a glossy coating. It leads to a far crisper and higher contrast image. But another great thing about display is the viewing angles. So for all of you out there who want to watch your monitor out of the corner of your eye all the way across the room, well, great news, because it's not going to lose any color or contrast, though you might see some slight tinting on white backgrounds due to WOLED as a panel technology. Yes, it does come with sound. It's okay. The clarity is pretty decent for a built-in set of speakers, but it does have some distortion and it lacks some bass, and especially if you go over 70% volume, it's definitely gonna have more distortion. And then I did see one issue on my unit, although I haven't seen this on any other KTC monitors, so I think I just got unlucky, and that was in certain HDR content, I would see some small flickering at the bottom of the screen, and I do think this is just a defective unit. Although if you see that, certainly return it immediately. That is completely unacceptable, and hopefully they can improve their quality control to ensure that those type of monitors don't ever reach reviewers or buyers alike. And then in terms of the menu and firmware, it's okay. It's a lot better than some other brands I've seen, and it will come with a little bit of VRR flicker, although this particular unit wasn't too bad overall. So is this monitor worth buying? I mean, overall, I would say it's a pretty decent monitor. It's got some great things about it, and it's got some, well, shall we say, not so great things, especially with the coating. But in terms of the gaming performance for the price, I do think it is a really good deal. And unless you can find something else on an even deeper sale, which has happened before, this is probably one of your best options for getting into 240Hz OLED gaming at a low price. And without any major issues, I can say while it's not my favorite monitor I've ever tested, it is pretty decent, and if you can find it on a discount, I would give it a try. Whether you're looking to connect a new console, gaming PC, or just need a fast and reliable HDMI cable to connect over long distances, Rupro has you covered with their certified 8K HDMI 2.1 fiber optic cable, available in sizes up to 50 feet and can deliver a perfect full 48 gigabits per second connection over distances other cables could only dream of reaching. And now Rupro's offering a new detachable and upgradable pure fiber cable that sends the same 48 gigabits per second signal through its ultra thin and flexible housing, making it easier to route through walls. So if you're in the market for a cable that can drive a beautiful new TV or monitor, be sure to check out Rupro on Amazon today.